Hello, welcome to the Daily Office Digest, and now I need to correct some insights I've made before. I've been talking about, what's the big deal? What has Moses been up to? Why is he saying, God, please stay with us? Dealing with these things in the tabernacle. I kind of wonder, just after thinking about it for a few minutes, if this isn't dealing still with the aftermath of the golden calf situation, which was really grievous. And God said, I'm going to visit their sins upon them in my visitation. Maybe this is Moses still dealing with God, please don't leave us. God, don't abandon us, even though we've been unfaithful. A major breach, a sort of adultery, spiritual adultery, has occurred on Israel's part against Yahweh. And anyway, I think this kind of came into focus when we talked about today's lesson. When we look at today's lesson, we have two tables of stone like the first, writing the words that were on the, and I will write upon these tables the words that were on the first tables, which he broke. So the same words, I assume. Same promise, same covenant agreement, right? This is spousal going on with Israel. And so Moses is to come present himself on the mount, and no man comes with him. It's just Moses. No, he'll even let the livestock close by. And God hews two tables of stone like unto the first, and Moses rises up early, gets them. The Lord descends in the clouds, stands with him, and proclaim the name of the Lord. Interesting. So is that when God shows up, it always gets heralded? Anyway, the Lord passed by before him, right? Terrifying. And proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful, gracious, long-suffering, abundant, goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity. Oh, that's what Moses wants to hear, right? And transgression and sin. That will no more clear and that will by no means clear the guilty, right? So if guilt hasn't been dealt with, I bring perfect judgment, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, upon the children's children, unto the third and to the fourth generation. And Moses made haste, bowed his head toward the earth. He doesn't have to be told, take your sandals off, Moses. He knows the deal, right? He worships. And he's grateful, right? I've found grace in your sight. Go among us. It's like, and here's an honest assessment. It's a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance, right? So let us be your people. And God's purpose is this. I'm going to make a covenant. I make a covenant, and I'm going to do marvels before other peoples, which I've never done in the earth and not in any other nation. And so all the people among which thou art shall see the work of the Lord. It's interesting, those that are around Israel had a benefit that they could see the Lord at work. For it is a terrible thing they'll do with thee. So it's scary, right? Scary holiness, dangerous holiness. And he takes these two tables, stone tables of the testimony, and he comes down from the mountain. And Moses didn't know this, but his face was shining, right? There's a holiness or glory, I should say, glory in the Old Testament, and Paul tries to get it in the New with the term the weight of glory. It has to do with substantiveness, substantial, substance, realness, primarily, but there's also a brightness. More Western thinks of holiness as bright, shining, light. And there is an element of this. You see it with Moses, reflecting, in a sense, the glory of the Lord as he deals with him. And so he puts a veil over it finally and takes it off when he comes in. Kind of a interesting point there of what can we handle? What can Israel handle? And versus the mediator. Interesting thought. There was a translation issue, I believe, with Jerome's Latin Vulgate, where it was translated as cornu, I believe, as horn. So they translated, so his face shown. It said his face, Moses had horns. And so you'll see classic art that presents Moses with horns. And not shining, but with straight up horns, which is quite a sight, but you'll see it. You'll see it in the art. One thing Gustav Doré did in a very interesting twist is he, in some of his woodcuts, he presents Moses as shining, but the light beams, if you will, form two horns on his head, trying to appease all parties. But anyhow, that's what that comes from. But Let's go on to Hebrews. Hebrews is, again, continuing on this theme of all the ancient saints, all that had come before, all of our Jewish forefathers, our Hebrew forefathers, were working by faith. And Moses or Paul is going through all these stories that even, by the way, Abraham sacrificed Isaac believing that God could raise up Isaac from the dead if he was killed, because he believed in the resurrection of the dead. That's a thought, right? And of course, God instead offered up a ram, it's a prefiguring of Jesus. But in any case, all the way down to Jericho's walls falling, Rahab, right, is preserved and saved because of her faith, not because of her circumcision or being a part of the circumcised people. Should be incorporated later because of faith, the faith that does things. And that, again, is the major theme that really was a powerful argument when you really think about it and what the issues were at the time. So with that, I'll leave you all, and I wish you God's blessings for this wonderful day.